Dozens of states across the country are preparing for the potentially historic storm, including states in the south like Texas, as Jeff just mentioned, where a forecast like the one predicted can bring cities like Austin and Dallas to a standstill. Crews began pre-treating roadways to get ahead of the worst conditions. Despite the forecast bringing rain before the conditions turn icy, transportation crews say it won't wash away the pre-treatment.
When we put our saltwater solution down, it dries. If you've seen it on the roadway, it looks like pinstripes down the lane of the roadway. That clings to the roadway, so a decent amount of rain is not going to wash that away. We can always retreat if necessary.
When moisture hits the brine put down, it activates it. The department is treating the most heavily traveled roads in central Texas first, but crews advise you stay off the roadways this weekend, even if your vehicle has four-wheel drive, because the conditions from this storm obviously can change quickly. We will continue to track this storm for you, both on air and online, as it makes its way across the U.S. And for the latest information, don't forget, you can also head to our website, thenationaldesk.com.
Across western North Carolina, the cleanup and recovery just getting started. Asheville crews have been working around the clock to clear those roads and protect critical infrastructure and try to keep those essential services running. Joining us this morning is Asheville Assistant Fire Chief Jeremy Knighton. Chief, good morning to you. Thanks so much for joining us. What are the top priorities this morning as the city kind of moves from response into recovery?
Absolutely. The top priorities here are just we still have some winds. We still have some low temperatures. We're trying to get out there and assess all of those secondary roads now. The main thoroughfares are clear. However, our emergency response plans and our emergency operations plan is still in effect. I'm in the EOC now, which we're still activated. But I think the biggest thing is just to let people know that we're trying to get things turned back on. Our transit, the mobility of our community is very, very important. And so we're trying to work toward the safest restoration of those services as we can.
What are you seeing? What are the biggest challenges you guys are seeing right now as far as the progress that's been made overnight? Where are crews still focused?
Like I said earlier, some of the different, based upon our topography, different parts of our community, shaded a little bit different. In the city of Asheville, we have 400 miles of roads that our crews used, 41 different crew members and 30 pieces of equipment through the night, and have been going through the night for 3 days, trying to make this recovery as quick as we can so we can get back to normal.
What should residents expect today?
Today, you'll see a lot of communication coming out about tomorrow, what to expect as we try to get the kids back in schools, assessing damage potentially, watching out for those tree downs, and again, making sure that they're looking all around for down power lines and things like that. We have a lot of wind coming through the city right now, and so with the ice that's on the tree limbs and the ice that could be on the sidewalks, just remain vigilant and keep up that situational awareness of where you're going and what you're doing, and bundle up.
Yeah, no doubt. A critical reminder too, as we were watching some of the video with, drivers still trying to get out there and navigate. If you park on the road or you get stuck, plows cannot do their job. So put this storm in context. I mean, this area is still recovering, many parts of western North Carolina from Hurricane Helene. How did lessons from that storm shape how Asheville handled this winter storm and this recovery phase?
Absolutely. Just like we did during Helene, our community stepped up to help us. We were able to mobilize very, very quickly through close communication and coordination with all of our partners, our business community. We gave some instructions. We opened up our parking decks. And so it was a true whole community approach in response to this storm. And a lot of those lessons we learned in Helene, again, a lot of folks, there's still some vulnerabilities out there. Our partnerships with our energy partners and even the business community, it was a good chance for us to reignite some of those relationships and touch base. And so there was a lot of old friends that we talked to on the phone, and as well as in person, that we and sometimes hadn't seen since then. But yeah, so it's good. We're in good shape now as the roads begin to clear up. Hopefully the sun comes out today and we get back to normal. But again, the cold that we're experiencing is not out of the woods yet.
And I was going to say, even with the sun out, it's very deceptive because when the temperatures start to plummet, doesn't matter when the sun is out. It still feels just brutal out there. We call it the frozen tundra for a reason because we know a lot of that ice and that some of the rain or some of the sleet can also be refreezing as well. Assistant Fire Chief Jeremy Knighton from Asheville, North Carolina. Thank you for the update and for your leadership. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you. Temperatures
have dropped into the single digits in some areas. Wind chills dipping even below zero in many states. And joining us right now is storm chaser Brett Adair with new video from Mississippi and Alabama. Brett, good morning to you. You currently are in Alabama, which did get hit with that ice storm. What are conditions like right now, and how have they changed since the storm hit over the weekend?
Well, it's funny, Jan, that you mentioned the black ice situation. We dealt with some of that on our way back from Mississippi over to northwest Alabama last night. We had rainfall here in northwest Alabama, actually, that melted some of that ice in the Florence area off the trees, off the homes, off the roadways. But as the temperatures dropped from the mid-30s back into the low 20s, it literally flash froze on the roadways. So we had numerous accidents around here. But just to the west, we saw just significant icing, 1 to 2 inches of ice accumulation from the Mississippi Delta region up into northeast Mississippi and southern middle Tennessee going up toward the Nashville area. That's just knocked out power. We even have heard that there's TVA transmission lines that went down across portions of Tippah County, which means that this isn't a situation for those guys that they're just going to be able to go back out and put those, those stick power poles up. The main large metal transmission lines went down. So this is a situation where you may have a week or weeks, plural, without power in some areas there.
That is frightening. And when you talk about 1 to 2 inches, that is significant. That's a significant amount of ice. What's different about this storm? And is that really the biggest danger right now, the ice?
Well, the ice and the cold, because we're not expected to get above freezing for several days, and that's the big issue. You've got the weight of the ice that's still on the trees and on infrastructure. So as your reporter showed in Nashville, it's very easy to get caught underneath one of those trees that could crash down onto your home, onto you. So you have to be very diligent if you have to be out in this situation. But not only that, again, the cold weather is going to be the problem too, because here in the Deep South, we're not used to dealing with these ice storms on a regular basis, or snowstorms for that matter. So people aren't used to the extreme cold. It's a little bit different. The equipment to clean this up isn't as readily available as it is in the northern states. So again, this is going to be a pretty long recovery process through much of the week, and you're going to see many school systems that are going to remain closed at least through the first half of the week, if not all week, due to the dangers ahead.
Speaking of which, without electricity, you have no heat. And so this could turn into, for many people there, it could turn deadly, as we know. So what are you hearing about the current time frame to restore power as those temperatures continue to plummet over the next week?
Well, a lot of crews didn't even get out yesterday because some of the power companies deemed it too dangerous to work, which is totally understandable with all the ice. We're going to see more trees fall. There's no doubt about that. Yesterday, it sounded like shotgun blast when we were out filming some of this video there you see in Corinth, Mississippi, because, again, over an inch of ice was on the trees. So we had to be pretty careful, too, and stay in open areas. We're using the drone there so that we could get better shots while we were in the open areas just to stay away from those trees. So it's going to be several days in many of these areas that the power remains out. And, again, there's warming shelters open. Our best advice is to monitor your local officials. Emergency management agencies are giving great information in terms of those warming shelters if you have any needs in the local areas.
What are your top do's and don'ts for anyone who needs to get out in this mess?
Well, the biggest thing is if you're in one of these areas that was hardest hit, if you don't have to get out and you have power, don't. If you do, you just have to be extremely careful, again, because the roadways still have some ice compaction. You must remember, in some of the videos, you'll see there's a white covered roadway because some sleet actually fell before the freezing rain changeover. So as that's gotten driven on and compacted down, you're not going to see that layer of ice over the top. So a lot of these roads are still unsafe. Now, there will be some melting as the sun comes out, even as the temperatures are above or below freezing, I'll say, because you got some of that radiational warming from the sun that will assist in melting, but that's just going to refreeze again later as the sun goes down, and then the icing situation on the roads could get worse. So if you do have to do anything, do it during the day, because a lot of these cities are totally black at night right now because they have no power.
Wow. All right, Brett, we appreciate you joining us this morning. We'll be checking in with you throughout the morning as we continue tracking Winter Storm Fern and visit other parts of the country dealing with the recovery and the impacts. Thank you. Ice and down power lines becoming a mess in parts of the South, still dealing with massive power outages. Crews are racing to restore power and heat to more than 800,000 Americans across the country as the threat of even colder temperatures is expected to sweep across the Southeast. Joining us now with an update on the power outages is the spokesperson for Duke Energy, Jeff Brooks. Jeff, good morning to you. Still early Monday, and crews I know have been, out there getting a full picture of what's been left behind with this storm. So what are we looking at this morning with the initial damage assessment, power restoration, and how would you compare really this storm to past winter storms?
Well, Jan, we've seen a pretty dynamic 24 hours. We were spared some of the early impacts that we thought we would see in the central portion of the state, really because of an excess of sleet mixed in with that freezing rain, which kept the icing accumulations lower. But then there was a second wave of moisture that came through yesterday evening, and we saw those numbers begin to spike again, especially in western North Carolina, the mountains, a lot of freezing rain, a lot of downed trees and lines. And so we're looking at over 850 outage locations that have to have a crew go to them and do repairs. So it's going to be a challenging day or two up here getting these remaining customers for the crews that are here.
So you're talking about locations. So we're talking about how many thousands of customers without power currently in your area?
Right now, about 35,000 customers. We were as high as 50,000 last night. Crews did work through the evening and were able to make some progress. And of course, we have a lot of additional reinforcements in the state, so a lot of resources we can push into that Henderson County, Buncombe County, upstate of South Carolina as well. All those areas that saw Helene damage, a couple years ago, now are faced with some of these kind of conditions again, but it's a winter storm.
And Jeff, a lot of people want timelines. So what should customers realistically expect today and tomorrow? And how are you deciding which areas get power back first?
Well, we work to restore as many customers as we can with every restoration, as well as getting emergency services up. Again, we've got about 850, 860 outage locations. So a crew has to go there, fix a broken line, a broken pole. So we're looking at probably at least a couple days to get all of this cleaned up. We're going to put as many resources as we can into those areas to try to accelerate that. But as you've noted before, you've got tough terrain, you've got down trees, hard roads to pass. So there's just a lot of difficult, challenging conditions they'll be working in.
Yeah, that can slow the process. Some of the biggest challenges, I'm sure, are those down trees and all the ice they have to get around. Safety, always a big concern, from those down power lines to generators. And for customers who may be without power or worried about losing power, what's the most important guidance right now in terms of safety and preparedness?
Well, first of all, know that we know you're there and we're not going to forget you. We're going to get everybody back up. If you do have a generator, make sure you're using it outside in a well-ventilated space. Never bring it into your garage or your home. There's a lot of down power lines up in these areas, and you may not see them immediately with brush and debris. So please use caution. If you do encounter a down line, stay away from it. Always assume that it has power on it. Keep your family and your pets safe. And lastly, if you see our crews out working, and they're going to be in a lot of places, give them some space to work safely. We want to get them home to their families at the end of the day.
No doubt, and we are thankful for those crews. No doubt, we know a lot of them worked overnight as well. Viewers will remember past winter storms where outages lasted longer than expected, especially with Hurricane Helene in western North Carolina. What changes or investments has Duke Energy made to strengthen the grid going forward, Jeff?
Well, we've been upgrading poles and lines all across our service area, making them stronger and more resistant to outages from severe weather. We've also added new technology like self-healing technology that can detect outages and look for ways to reroute power to restore service faster. And then, of course, the refinements we make every storm and learn with our storm process, the ability to bring in crews from out of state, from 40 plus states that are here helping us. All of that is an evolution of the lessons we've learned from storms over the years to get better and better to serve our customers.
How many crews you got working right now?
We have 18,000 line and tree workers in North and South Carolina right now from 40 states, as well as our local crews.
That is very impressive. All right, Duke Energy spokesperson Jeff Brooks, thank you for the update and for the work your crews are doing. We're going to continue to track restoration efforts and bring you the latest throughout the morning, of course. Thank you very much. And the federal government in D.C. closed today because of the weather. Federal agencies and crews, though, are standing by, ready to assist states hit by the massive winter storm. The National News Desk's Atra Elnishar joining us live from Capitol Hill with more on the Trump administration's disaster response. Good morning to you, Atra.
Hey, good morning, Jan. Yeah, D.C. is shut down today. Very few roads are plowed. Lawmakers, we don't expect to see a single one of them around Capitol Hill this morning. So you were mentioning earlier that President Trump began approving those emergency declarations for about a dozen states in the storm's path. And most of those are in the southeast and just aren't used to all this snow. They haven't invested in the infrastructure. Folks aren't used to the frigid temperatures. Like you said, Mississippi, Kentucky, Tennessee, etc. So what these declarations do is they give states access to federal resources to supplement their state's response. According to FEMA, Jan, across their distribution centers, stockpiles include 300 generators and 7 million meals. The agency also has 27 urban search and rescue task forces standing ready if governors request them. In total, about 900 staff from across FEMA and other federal agencies are deployed to these affected states. Now, earlier this month, the Trump administration started the process of laying off hundreds of FEMA disaster personnel, but put that on pause ahead of this storm. I'm Atra Elnishar for the National News Desk, America's News Now.